So the weather has changed. I don't know about where you guys are, but it's a steady rain here. A cool, damp rain. It's a great day for ducks. So this is kind of one of those days where you get to huddle inside and eat great comfort food. Todd, your best meal you've ever had.
Ooh. Okay, we got a little bit of a family story with it. So
there's always a story, Mary Elaine.
we took a family trip to Italy, and my oldest son ate something that got sick and missed this meal. But we had a Tuscan steak, which is like ribeye aspires to be a Tuscan steak, and I love ribeye. So it's in this like outdoor pavilion area. It looks like we're in a movie set in Tuscany, having the best
Pause
steak.
for a second. This has nothing to do with the meal, Mary Elaine. This has everything to do with Todd just
bragging about his trip to Italy. I get
it.
Yes. This steak was, oh my word, amazing. It's the setting that makes the meal better too, but it was fantastic. How about
Mary Elaine, your favorite meal or your favorite food? We can even go there.
Yeah. So I am so spoiled. My husband is the chef of our family.
Oh, no kidding.
He loves to cook and he's good at it. I got to add
that's helpful.
Yes. He's good at it. And he loves cooking Latin inspired foods.
Oh, okay.
We have a joke. I'm the one that's Hispanic, but really he is way more Hispanic than I am just because he's the one that cooks and he's
the true Latino in the family. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
He really is. He can throw down in the kitchen. But anyway, one of my favorite meals that he makes is called cochinita pibil. And it is.
You got to interpret for us rednecks over here.
slow it down for South Carolina.
I don't know what it actually means, but it's a slow cooked like pork dish with all kinds of seasonings that you've never used probably or heard of.
That feels very Latin.
It's when you so good. We first had it in Mexico, and this is one of his just best traits. If he goes and has something anywhere and he loves it, he comes home and tries to recreate it over and over and over again until it's better than what he had. So anyway, that's a good, really good dish. You'll have to Google it.
Okay.
Dan, have we given you enough time to think? Do you it has to be a story apparently to a different country.
Well, I mean, I love steak is by far and away. That is my jam. Okay. But nobody does one better than I do it.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness!
Now this is
let
me restate that. Nobody does it as cheaply as I do it. There's the real answer.
You did all right. I figured. All right, that's fair.
But I'll tell you what's really fun, and if you've never found one in your area, everybody can find one. Go find a local farmer who they've done grass fed. It's on their property, and they've processed it, and you're buying it straight from the farmer. Mm-hmm. We've got one not far from us. And man, I bought some hammers. If you know what I'm talking about, we're talking about like 2-inch thick ribeyes. That is just butter. So here's where I do throw
I'm getting hungry now. We should move on to the podcast.
But hey, you got to zhuzh it up a little, and you zhuzh it up by just making garlic butter. And so you put a pat of garlic butter on it as a finisher.
Butter makes everything better.
Oh my gosh, yes. Fact.
Are you near White Oak Pastures?
I don't think so.
You heard of that? Okay, you might want to look that up. I think you're kind of close. Maybe not.
I'm right on the border of Lexington County and Saluda County in South Carolina, and this guy's up in Saluda County, JCQ Farms. It's an unpaid solicitation there, right?
Yeah,
there we go.
We're all about the grass-fed meat over here, so
yeah. It's a
topic.
All right, Mary Elane, we should jump in. For those of our audience who don't know you, we want to get into a little bit of your story because it actually plays into how you launched the business. But introduce yourself to our audience.
All right, I'm Mary Elane Baker, and I am the co-founder and integrator at VA USA, which just means that I'm all about people and process and taking all of the ideas from my visionary, which is also my husband / chef. and helping bring them to life in the company. So that's my job, and I feel so blessed to do it. But VA USA is it's a virtual assistant company, but deeper than that, and really what we're all about is creating jobs and community for military families. And we do that by strategically building remote teams for faith and purpose-driven companies. And we started this company back in 2018.
How cool is that? So currently, how many companies are you guys working with? How many virtual assistants do you guys work with? And you get all of that paired up, right?
Yeah. So think of us as essentially virtually staffing companies. Mm-hmm. So our team numbers will go up and down depending on if we are engaging in a monthly staffing relationship with a client, or we could recruit for them. And then sometimes they will end up directly hiring their virtual assistant after a period of time. We have that option as well. So our numbers go up and down all the time. Right now, we're about 70 people on our team that are engaged in the monthly contracts with our clients. And some of our assistants could have a couple of clients if you really want to get into the nuances of it. So roughly around their client base.
Why the military community?
Well, so I am a military, now veteran spouse myself. My husband was active duty as an Army Ranger for about 13 years, and I was with him for the majority of that time. And also grew up in a military family. My father retired after, I think, 30 years serving in the military. He retired as a colonel. So that's really all I know, first of all, is military life. And I swore I would never marry someone in the military, but
here we are.
God always laughs at my plans, and I found my husband, Brett Baker, and we had a crazy first 5 years of our marriage. He was deploying all the time. Mm-hmm. He was always on combat deployments, and Rangers, without getting too much in the detail of what they do, but they deploy very frequently. So shorter cycles than regular Army, but all the time. So it's a constant yo-yo effect of him being home, not being home. And there's also when he's home, like stateside, he could be gone somewhere training. He could be across the country, even though he's home, if that makes sense. Right. So I was teaching for the first 5 years of our marriage, and we had 2 young children. They were both in daycare. And I was just about my 4th year of teaching, I started to feel drained. My 5th year of teaching, you could just put a fork in me. I was done. I was just so mentally and emotionally exhausted. On top of just having the weight of essentially operating as a single mom in my home, teaching is stressful. Mm-hmm. Teachers don't get paid enough. Okay.
My daughter is a 4th grade teacher, so I get it.
That's where I spent most of my time, was actually 4th grade. But for me, it was also just the emotional stress. I was always worried. My husband's on these combat deployments. We were, actively at war, and, you have this looming cloud of, okay, well, what do I do if something happens to him? So you never want to think about it or talk about it, but that's always just there, just below the surface. So anyway, I knew I wanted to make a career change, but I didn't know what else could I do where I could still use my God-given gifts and contribute financially to our family, because that was really important for us at that time, especially. But give me the flexibility that I needed to be able to be the wife and the mother that I wanted to be, and that I felt I was called to be. So I learned about virtual assisting through a friend. And the more I learned about it, the more I thought, I think I can do that. I'm just going to try it. So I decided to try it during summer in between school years. And you can never put me back in those 4 walls again. It was exactly what we needed. It was like a weight was lifted from my home, from my shoulders. And what I didn't realize until my stress level greatly reduced was how much my stress level was affecting the entire family.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. It was a palpable difference. And my husband will say that. He says all the time. It's like he could feel the difference in the home. And that was huge for us as a military family. And what else it gave me was the ability to learn about business. I loved it. I loved working. I was able to work for 3 serial entrepreneurs. That's what I kind of worked myself up to. And I was fascinated by it. I loved everything about business and how it all worked behind the scenes, how all the wheels in the bus worked together. But yeah, that's what kind of led me to that point of getting out of the classroom and starting to become a virtual assistant myself. But the business idea came a little while later after I experienced that relief for myself.
Keep going. Don't stop there.
And the rest of the story.
I really want to hear how the business started. No, you're telling the story. I'm in. We're in. We're here.
All right.
Yeah. We're leaning in.
Well, what was revealed to not just me, to also my husband, and this is how I know it had to have been God, because both my husband and I are very passionate people. We tend to be a little bit stubborn.
Wait a minute. Latinas are passionate? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
You're trying to say bad man pajama special op guys have opinions? What?
Yeah, we're both pretty passionate. That's a very kind way of putting it. But both of us felt very strongly that our blessing, that experience that we had, was not meant for just us. Mm. And I couldn't see it until I had that kind of transformation for myself, that what I was experiencing wasn't just a Mary Elane problem, wasn't just a Baker family problem. What we were experiencing is actually a huge problem in America. So at that time, and I had no idea, and I grew up in a military family, and a lot of my friends are military affiliated, but I did not realize that the unemployment rate for military spouses was 4 times higher than the national average. Never once occurred to me that this is a big problem. So I started having friends ask me, hey, how are you doing this? Is this real? Can you actually make money? And then can you teach me how to do what you do? And then that's when the light bulbs really started going off for me, because I'm going to be honest, when I made that transition out of the classroom, even though after I stepped out, I realized, okay, this is where God wants me to be. The decision to step out was kind of a hard one. Even though I was exhausted and I was ready for change, I didn't understand, why did God give me the gift of teaching? Why did he give me that gift if he wanted to just get me out of the classroom at the end of the day and only spend 5 years in there? It didn't make sense. I wrestled with that for a while. I invested in, I had my master's in education. I was all in. I'm still in touch with my students to this day. I have some 4th grade students that I still mentor to this day. They're now grown and in college and doing big things. But I loved it. And what God told me was, you can use your gift no matter where I move you. I promise you. And so when I had friends telling me or asking me, teach me, I was like, I get it now. God, you want me to use my gift of teaching. And it may not be 4th grade students in a classroom. Maybe there are people that are more like me. So I started creating curriculum. I went from creating 4th grade curriculum to creating curriculum on how to work with business owners. And what does that onboarding process look like? How do I build trust with someone remotely? That was a huge challenge that I had to overcome with my clients in the beginning. How do I establish trust and mutual trust and accountability? and what are the correct systems and processes that I need to learn in order to streamline and make this working relationship as smooth as possible. So I had to take all my experiences out of my head and build out that curriculum. And I started with just one friend. She was my best friend. She still actually works with the company to this day. And I called her. I said, Brooke, I feel like God is telling me to spread the word, go find more people like you and like me. She was also a military spouse, and teach them how to do what I'm doing, and then go out and find the clients and then teach them how to work together, not just match them and say, good luck, goodbye, but basically hold their hand and be a bridge between the two of them until they can get to that place of true traction and a great long-term relationship. Not just, I want an assistant to check off tasks for me. I want a right-hand person that I can grow with and do life with. And that's what we did.
I love it. So it's the entrepreneurial journey, right? But just same song, different verse. You see a need, meet a need. In this case, you're actually meeting two separate needs. One, for the employment pool, because we're 4 times the national average, right, and the need for growth scale, et cetera, right-hand people, admin support inside the company. Love it. I want to double click on something you said, because this is universal to our audience entirely. If you've got any sort of remote team building trust and accountability, weigh in on that for those that are listening and going, yeah, I need to help with accountability more. And the reason why I'm not doing remote is because I don't trust accountability happening.
And just the connection, the personal and professional connections, and how you can make those things happen.
So I think I'm going to start with some of the challenges as to why that is a problem, because it's really multifaceted. So one, you have the obvious obstacle of just not having proximity, and you're not in an office with someone that you see every day, because building trust can also be a lot of little things that like getting to know someone over time that you miss out on. So one is, how am I creating and carving out intentional time to build rapport and actually know the person that is serving me? I once heard, there was I can't remember his name. There's a Chick-fil-A owner locally he started a podcast, like the Shepherd Leader podcaster. He came in and spoke to me and a group of people, and he said the first step in Psalm 23 is the knowing. Like, he knows his flock so well. So what is knowing? Well, it's knowing just the obvious things about who they are, where are they from, what's their family life and dynamics like, but what is their personal history? Every person has a story of what led them to where they are today. So knowing that, we do a variety of different assessments when we onboard a new team member. They go through multiple assessments, but assessing their emotional intelligence, their DISC, working genius, just trying to understand how are they wired naturally, and what are their what are their God-given gifts that naturally drive them and give them energy. And a lot of people don't even know that about themselves, is what I've learned over the years. A lot of people don't realize those things. So
EQ is such an underrated skill. It is so essential.
Yep. So really, and then being willing to share that with your assistant, with whoever you're working with. It's not just an assistant, it's anyone you're going to be working closely with. Just being willing to share that. So what I've noticed is, if people put that on the back burner, and it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple. But if people put that on the back burner and they hire somebody and they just get straight into training, onboarding, execution, do these things.
We got to be efficient, Mary Elane, and productive.
It makes it so much more challenging when conflict comes up, because there will be conflict. Any healthy relationship is going to have conflict. It's necessary for growth. And that's one of the issues I have found. If you don't invest in building trust. And trust also is, I'm going to give you this piece of whatever in my life, and I'm giving it to you to steward and to take care of, and to hopefully make it even better. And then that's gradually built over time by seeing, do they follow through? Do they do it with excellence? Do they actually care about the work that they're doing? And do they show investment in not only my business, but in me personally, which takes also, that's a mutual, you got to show it. That's going to be built, but conflict is going to come up. And so that's where the trust is so important, because it is, if the trust isn't there when conflict arises, it's going to feel like a house of cards that is about to just crumble down. Because then you have two people who actually don't know each other trying to overcome something, and you don't know if that person actually has your best interest in mind. You don't know what their foundational values really are. You don't know. And so you just start making up stories in your head. Yeah. You just start making assumptions and making up stories. And if you don't know, you can misread and misinterpret because you don't understand how they're wired, how they like to be communicated with. You're going to make assumptions, and then or you're going to ignore it, and it gets swept under the rug. And then suddenly that pile gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I have so much to say about trust, but I would say if it's not there in the first 30 days, red flag, 911, everyone needs to stop and recalibrate.
A couple of thoughts with that, Mary Elane. Some observations that I've made. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of business owners really like to think that they are in control of everything. It's a figment of their imagination, but they like to think that it's kind of like Todd and I are both amateur backyard chicken farmers, right? It's kind of like if I stare at my chickens all day, they'll lay more eggs.
Yeah.
It's just,
try that, Dan.
Yeah. And so whether you're in a quote unquote virtual or a face-to-face environment, digging through the things that you're speaking to is important either way. Mm-hmm. What my observation has been, and this is a big part of the whole, return to work, argument that so many are making. Well, my people just work harder. They work more when they're at home. When they are at the office. And I would suggest that's not really necessarily what's happening. Mm-hmm. Just because they're there doesn't mean they're being more productive. And so I know that this is probably an obstacle that you and your team sometimes have to overcome, but you do it probably with some really, really clear expectations, some clear metrics. What are the deliverables? Mm-hmm. By the way, when my admin, Crystal, delivers for me, the trust elevates.
Yes.
Whether I'm watching her or whether I'm not, right? Yes. So maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yes. So let's just assume that you know them and they know you. They know your heart, they know your values, and you know theirs, and you know what their natural giftings are. You've already overcome so many barriers in building trust. Okay. Yeah. Then beyond that, practically speaking, especially working virtually, we encourage our team to be extremely proactive in providing and proving the work that you're doing. Don't wait to be asked in what it is that has been delegated to you. Provide check-ins midway. And this is, I don't care who you are, commit to a weekly meeting where you allow your assistant to run it. Let go, allow them to run it, where you can provide the, issues to discuss, but they're running the agenda, and they are bringing up questions, and they're holding you accountable. And part of that is reporting on to-dos, what's been done, what's not done. Every week. We also, if you're an executive or business owner, I would request weekly timesheets with notes. There's so many different time tracking tools out there. Hopefully they're using some kind of tool and they're just not jotting down on a piece of paper when they're clocking in and clocking out, but that they are putting in notes for what it is that they're clocked in for that time. And that they submit it to you on a weekly basis. You may never look at it, but it's there if you ever need to. And it creates this expectation of consistency in data tracking for your assistant. And honestly, from the assistant's point of view, that's their safety net. If their integrity was ever in question, they have their timesheets, they have a weekly report on status updates. They have the notes from their meeting. Always have your meeting AI bot or recording in there. Always have it in there for everyone's sake. But those are just some practical tools. I would say, if you're not already in a rhythm of your assistant providing this documentation, they may get really blindsided if you all of a sudden say, hey, from now on, I need boom, 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 boom. But just maybe start with 1 or 2 accountability pieces at a time. And like I said, it's a mutual thing. It's not just because you want to see what it is they're working on and to understand it, but it's also for their sake.
Yeah.
If we're going off of memory, I know I've delegated things and I hadn't thought about it until 3 months later. And I'm like, oh man, whatever happened to that? Yeah. And I'll randomly check in. So,
So Mary Elane, I want to jump back into your story. So you're building this business. It's you and Brooke at this point. You're going to think we're onto something. And now to the end of it, we got 70 plus whatever people we're working with. When did you realize along the way, oh crap, we're building something I think is going to go somewhere? And how did that feel? Was that like a weight on your shoulders when you're starting to build this thing? When did you finally go, oh wow, this is something?
Okay. So when we started to grow our team members, I mean, it may have been, let's say 5 people going into like 10 people. That was really easy for me to keep a pulse on how my people are doing, knowing them, like I said. But it really, when it started stretching beyond 10 to 15 people on my team, I started to get scared. I remember waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my Lord, like you've trusted me with not just this business, but these people's livelihoods. Like these people's lives are impacted by me and how I run this business. And it started to feel heavier and heavier. And then when 2020 hit, after the initial freak out that everyone had and everything slumped, our business exploded. I mean, a tremendous amount of growth in a very short amount of time. And I was not prepared for it. I'm grateful for it now because it taught me so many lessons, but I didn't have a background in business. I had no clue how to scale at that speed and what to do with it. You know, my husband would look at the numbers and say like, wow, this is amazing. Meanwhile, I'm like sweating bullets every day with like, how am I going to manage this kind of growth? And it was at that same time that I joined C12. I joined a Christian peer advisory group. And I heard about it from one of my first clients in 2018, but we could not afford it. You know, at that time, it was just me and Brooke, you know, really at that point. But I said, one day I'm going to be able to invest in this. And I know it's important to me to invest back in my own growth. So, I said, okay, this is it. Like, I need help. I can't go to my team with these kind of problems. I can't lean down. I got to be able to go lean on someone that's been through some things and have seen and experienced growth and knows how to manage a business of this size. And what was really important to me, that one of the reasons I would wake up in the middle of the night is, how do I care for my people when I don't really even know them? It's not appropriate at this point for me anymore to be the one, calling, hey, how's your mom? How's your kids? It can't be, practically speaking. And then I realized too, just professionally, not everyone's going to want to open up to me or share things with me. And,
sure.
And so I was really kind of stumped on how do I care for my people at scale as well? Because I wanted to maintain the culture that we had so carefully built and without losing that touch. So I joined C12. I created a position in my company called an outreach ambassador. And I hired a chaplain. And so I cast my vision to my chaplain.
Bookmark that for a second. Keep talking, but bookmark that. I want to come back to the chaplain. Keep going.
I cast my vision to my chaplain and to my care team of, I want to make sure every single person that we hire knows that they are loved, that they experience the love of Jesus, whether they're a believer or not, and that we care for them. We first of all, we understand because we're just human. We understand everyone has hardships and things that they're carrying. But two, I'm a military family. I know what it's like to be through deployments. I know what it's like to deal with that kind of stress and worry and all the things that are thrown our way. And this is a place where they don't have to hide that. They don't have to wear a mask when they show up here. And that we can provide resources to support them when they go through, fill in the blank, financial issues, marital issues, depression, anxiety, parenting concerns. So 2021 brought me to my knees. That was the year, I would say, of true surrendering my business to God. Because up until
at that point, how large a business were you then, Mary Elane? Ballpark.
I mean, I think we went from maybe 20 something assistants to over 100.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to go back and look at exactly, but I know we were in the hundreds. when we started getting close to that 100 mark, I was not in a good place mentally. And I had to completely surrender everything to God, because I knew this was way outside of my own abilities. I needed help. I needed support, and I needed to let go of things that I couldn't control, which was really just almost everything at that point. But I thank God for that year, because if I hadn't have been completely humbled, we made the decision the next year to intentionally downsize. I mean, fire clients, fire team members. We said yes to people we should have never said yes to, because our doors were being banged down.
Yeah.
And we accepted clients that didn't align with our values, that weren't really a good fit for us, just because we could, just because they said, hey, I want to give you my money. Wasn't worth it. God completely humbled and convicted Brett and I in that year. And when we downsized, it was very scary, because we're saying no to a lot of revenue. We were hurting feelings out the door. We let go of team members also. And that was I made a decision. I drew a line in the sand that I will never compromise our values, the integrity of our process, for the sake of growth ever again. We became public about our faith. We were all about Jesus behind closed doors. But we were never very bold and outspoken about it. And this was at like the height of cancel culture too. That we were making these decisions. And we changed our avatar. We said, no, we are not here to serve just anybody and everybody. We want to work with clients who are faith or purpose driven in their companies. So we're not here to only work with believers or only hire believers. I feel like that's very not Christian of us to do that. But we want to make sure that we're working with people who believe that their profit is a tool for a greater impact. That it's not the end goal. The profit isn't the end goal. Yeah, we want healthy businesses that thrive, obviously. But what are we doing with our business that is going to impact either the kingdom, the community, the country, the world? And we believe you don't have to be a nonprofit to do that. You can be a nonprofit business to do it.
I love it. I want to circle back to this.
Stop me at any
time. No, girl, no, I ain't stopping nothing. I want to circle back to this chaplain thing, because you're not going to find any two bigger fans of workplace chaplains than Dan and Todd. Okay, so we're all in on that. But what I find fascinating, and I have some companies that they have remote workers, okay, that are not on site. They find it really difficult to get their head wrapped around, how do I use a chaplain in a if you will, a virtual setting.
Right.
So tell me how that has worked out.
If only they were a tool to have a chaplaincy integration plan within my company.
So walk us through how you guys did that. It's one thing to do stuff face to face, right? But to do that when there's none of the accidental engagements, everything's got to be intentional. How did you guys weave that in?
So, okay, let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
When we got our chaplain, we weren't quite sure how this was going to work. So I remember, her name's Tracy. I remember meeting with her first virtually, and I said, "Hey, I cast my vision. This is what I want for my people." And I already knew, I could see that this was going to be hard because, like I said, building trust is everything. How am I going, if she can't build a relationship with, and it's all permission based too. She can't just say, "Hey, so-and-so want to meet, like, let's meet next Friday." They have to be very careful on how they engage with your team. And they have to get exclusive permission from them. So I already knew that's going to be a problem. So how can we overcome that? So we had we had idea sessions. And one of the ways that I decided to get her to meet our team without it being uncomfortable or awkward was we started having monthly, we call them meet and greets. So think of it as like an orientation, but it's not, "Hey, this is how you work here." No, not at all. Every month we meet and we share about our mission, about our vision, about our values. And we also introduce Tracy. So we allow her to just talk about herself. And so everyone gets to meet her, but in a group setting that is very, very non-threatening.
Casual.
And then we have other team members that will chime in about their experiences in meeting with Tracy. We never require that, obviously, but people just say, I love meeting with Tracy. She's so wonderful. She's helped me with this. She's helped me with that. So other people who've had experiences get to basically give their own validation or testimony, like, it's not weird. It's not uncomfortable. She's fantastic. And she's extremely relatable. So having other people in the organization that will vouch for it, that's not Mary Elane and not Brett, I think makes a big difference. And giving them opportunity to meet in a way that, and they don't even have to have their camera turned on, but they're hearing it, they're seeing her, they're hearing her heart. I think that's what's really important. So every month, and then we introduce new team members to the team. And then at the end, We share stories of essentially our team members shouting out other people of witnessing our values in action.
Love it.
And it is powerful. It is probably one of the best things we've ever implemented in our company. But anyway, so we invite our chaplain to that. And there are lots of other things. I actually, Todd hinted at it earlier, but created a chaplaincy integration plan that I took all of the things that we've learned over the years and incorporating chaplaincy into our organization. It can be used for virtual or non-virtual work environments. But it's just a free resource that I created for anybody that may want it. And y'all are more than welcome to share that with anyone who's listening.
Awesome.
Great.
You're kind of a free resource queen, Mary Elane. That's pretty awesome.
There's another one, actually. I think we should go there next. So if C12 or if Dan and Todd had a best practice, chaplaincy is going to be high on the list. Mm-hmm. The second one is either some sort of caring team or chaplain or not chaplain, champion within the business about that caring team. Not usually the CEO or business owner, right? But how do we have somebody who carries the weight of ministering to and loving our people, whatever the effort is within the company? We're very prescriptive. We're not very prescriptive, but very descriptive. Hey, let me tell you some stories. Have you thought about it? Have you considered, right? That's kind of the point of this podcast as well, is how do we stir you up to have ideas about how to honor God within your business? One of the best practices is, hey, well, let's get a team of our folks to be responsible for the efforts, right? You have a caring team established within VA USA. Tell us how did that come about? And then how do we figure out how to identify that right caring team lead is probably the biggest problem in all of this.
So I mentioned earlier when things started really growing to a point where I realized it wasn't appropriate and practical for me to be that person anymore. That's when I realized I need to find someone on my team that has these natural abilities and giftings. So this person, how do I identify them? I created an outreach integration plan that teaches you what are those qualities and key traits to look for and questions to ask in the interview process to make sure that they're able to perform the duties of this role on I call it a head, heart, and hands level. So do they get and understand their responsibilities on a head level? For example, I understand what a doctor is responsible for and what a doctor does, but that doesn't mean I get on a hands level. Don't ask me to go do surgery tomorrow. I have no idea how to execute it. And then the heart connection of does their natural abilities line up with what the role is requiring to do, or do their God-given gifts align with the duties of this role? So anyway, so to find someone who they're natural nurturers, they're caring, they're patient, they're really good listeners. They know how to ask good questions and they know how to listen well. And they're also detail oriented. You know, you can have a lot of people who care deeply, but you need to make sure that they know what to do with that information and to do something with it and follow through. So think of a care team member or outreach ambassador, is what we call it, as a bridge between the team member and any of the resources you're providing. So this is not HR. A lot of people are like, oh, I just hire my HR person. No, okay? This is not the same person. But all of the other resources you provide, whether it's, I'll give you some examples of some of the resources we provide. And these are what I would consider like non-traditional benefits. We offer marriage retreat scholarships. We offer financial coaching. We offer chaplaincy, like I mentioned before. So let's just stick with those three because there's more ideas in that integration plan that you can look up. So the outreach ambassador's job is when they are connecting and they're meeting team members and they're getting to know them. When a need arises and they hear something, they say, hey, I hear you say you're struggling to pay the bills, or you and your husband just can't stick to a budget. Did you know that we have free financial coaching? Oh, you didn't? Great. I'm going to connect you with that resource. I'm going to connect you with that tool. Another thing that we do is we do very intentional gifting or care packages when someone goes through a hardship. Let me tell you, if you want trust with your people, if you want your people to really love and trust you and know that they are so deeply loved, you show up during times of hardships.
Facts.
It could be, it doesn't have to be extreme either. I mean, we've had people, lots of people care very, very deeply about their pets. Some, especially some families, like they don't have children. They're unable to have children. Their pets are their children. And
fur babies. It's a real thing.
And when if a dog passes away, it can be devastating for a family or the family's children. And if you do something small just to recognize the fact that they are grieving the loss of an animal, like sending a card, or we've sent like a wind chime and put the dog's name on the wind chime, that goes so far. And I think that's what my husband and I are just so passionate about, is showing that you don't have to have a huge profit to make a big impact for your people.
Thank you.
You don't.
There's so much. It doesn't cost anything to care.
No, it takes slowing down and just being intentional and then doing something.
That's the problem. It requires intentionality. And so one of the things, Mary Elane, I know you guys also, you got to have a scorecard to track all this.
Yes.
Which for some people that's so counterintuitive, right? Like, I want to do these nice, gracious, we'll even say faith-infused things, but we're going to measure it? And it feels that, but what we measure gets better. So tell us a little more about how you guys go about measuring those touches, and what do you do with the measurements once you have them?
So first of all, starting a scorecard, the tendency is to think of a lot of things to measure. I would say if you're going to start a scorecard, just start with 2 or 3 things that you want to start measuring. But for me, I think, one, if you're doing something that requires attendance, that's engagement. And engagement, I think, is really important to measure. So one of the things that we measure is, are people actually showing up to these these virtual events that we have? Out of X number of team members, what % participated? So for example, we had a workshop last week. I brought in a guest speaker, and she had a very powerful testimony of overcoming really a lifetime of abuse and illness. And so her story was about just giving hope to our people and how she was able to overcome these traumatic experiences.
And you're doing all this virtually, right? I mean, so this is like, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like a Zoom room, and you got 100 people that are in there. And okay. So just to make sure we all understand what this looks like.
Yeah. So we had almost 50% of our team showed up for this. And we were just, and that's great, by the way. I mean, that is fantastic. And, the speaker, unpaid, she volunteered to do this.
Wow.
Okay. And she very well could have charged for this. She volunteered to do this. All it took was a little planning of our outreach ambassador and setting up the logistics. And then we had almost 50% of our team show up. That was huge for us. And so one of the reasons why we measure is we don't know what's normal until we start tracking it. And then when things trend up or trend down, we're able to diagnose it or celebrate it, or, hey, if that worked really, really well, obviously our people want that. They want it. So how do you know if the engagement tells you what the people want, what is resonating with them? And so for me, I realized, wow, my people want to hear stories of hope. They want to hear stories of overcoming. They want to hear stories of people who've made it through. And they're willing to invest an hour of their own time at home to listen to someone like that. And I want to encourage you, when you start something new like this, you may have 1% of your team engage and show up. And I have a story about that. My husband and I had a workshop for military families to educate them and teach them about transitioning out of the military. Everyone's going to do it eventually, right? So we have a big heart for helping veterans navigate that, but really like preparing them before they get out of what they're about to walk into. So we had this all planned. Both of us were going to co-lead this. And outside of the people who were required to be there, one person from our entire team. And we just
it was such a great idea.
That's how we both thought so. And I mean, it was like someone had just put a slow, tiny little hole in our balloon, just like slowly deflating. And afterwards, we're like, well, yeah. But my husband, he delivered, man. I mean, you would have thought he was speaking to a room of 100 people. And he just poured into that woman that showed up. I mean, just gave it all. Later, this led to her plugging into a couple's Bible studies. She started plugging into other things. And it also, all of these things led to that one woman's salvation.
Wow.
Come on.
She specifically called out that when she showed up for that, and Brett invested all of that into her, that it helped her so much, because she was in a season of just so much anxiety, so much worry and fear wrapped around her husband getting out, and what turn, do I turn left? Do I turn right? What do we do? What does this look like? There was so much unknown that she was struggling with. And Brett was able to encourage her through that and give her practical advice. And then again, that helped build trust. And one thing led to another. And I got a phone call from my chaplain one day that she chose to follow Christ. And
that's so cool.
So was that one person showing up worth it? We got to get our egos out of the way and just let God work.
You done started meddling now.
So, Mary Elane, I'm looking at time. The chaplaincy integration plan is a tool you'll pass out. The outreach integration plan, just kind of you're putting this piece together, including that simple scorecard, just some ideas that are going. We'll put those in the show notes. So I think it's been awesome. I look back on the time looking at that trust and accountability piece is extremely practical and helpful. We've had our guests start to pray over the people listening in. And I think that's kind of the next step, maybe to wrap this thing of just going, what would your prayer be? Instead of asking you what your prayer is, I think we just give you the microphone and say, can you pray over the audience? Kind of related to some of the stuff we talked about today, maybe looking into the vets, but somebody that needs to implement some of this stuff and has some courage to step into what seems extremely practical or simple and is worried about that one person to go, but it's worth it for the one. Mm-hmm. Can you pray over our audience today?
Absolutely. I would love to. Father God, we're just so grateful for giving us so much hope and purpose here on this world. And we're just so thankful that you give us the calling to be a light for you. We pray that everything that we do brings you glory and honor. Please use our hands and feet to serve others, to meet their needs of wherever they're at with whatever gifts you have given us, Lord. We ask that you give us courage to step out and take that step, Lord, that's within your will, whether it's trusting someone, building a relationship with them, providing additional resources, or just being able to look at our business, at our calling through your eyes. We ask that you soften our hearts and give us wisdom and discernment to lead our people with courage and compassion. In your name I pray. Amen.
Oh, amen. Amen. Thank you so much for investing some time with us today, Mary Elane. Blessings to
you.
you. All right, I'm going to start us right off with the quote that I wrote down. It's the writer downer.
The writer downer.
Our blessing was not meant just for us.
Totally.
So oftentimes we are so, and it's not that we're selfish. There's a difference between being selfish and self-centered.
Yeah.
We're only thinking around the things that affect us. And so, as Mary Elane and Brett talked about, God has blessed us for something bigger than just us. What a beautiful, beautiful way to approach your business.
I just love hearing entrepreneurial journeys about how the business started. Hey, I was in this. This was my deal. I wasn't called into teaching. What if I tried it? It worked. Then it starts to grow, and then boom, and then COVID, right? The opportunity hits. I just love hearing that entrepreneurial journey, which after all, yes, it's a different song and a different verse, but man, it's the same playbook. But it's just neat to hear those stories.
Yeah.
And then the weight of, oh crap, we're building something is so common to every single person's story.
That's right.
And when our audience starts to hear those stories to go, but I got to honor Jesus in this. How do we go into this?
That's right.
Oh, dang. What if we did? What if we tried? What if we it's just the next logical step, right? I loved the practicality. Anyway, that was a fun one to say it again. That was neat.
The uniqueness also of a virtual company that's using chaplaincy is, let's not miss that. Matter of fact, Mary Elaine told us offline, they've seen 7 of their VAs come to faith in Jesus over the last year. So that's about a 10% clip. I mean, that's I'd say that's a pretty good metric. What do you think?
Yeah. But it's also for those that are on the beginning side of this going, oh crap, I can't do more. Well, here's a story again.
Yeah.
I heard this, I saw this, I heard this, I did this, I heard this, I did this, I heard this, I did this. Just be faithful to that next step. What's God calling you to do as your next step? Do it.
Amen and amen. And just because you don't have to do what Mary Elane or someone else is doing, that's not the point. What is God inviting you to? And then how do you execute that?
So at this point, we've had Mark Whitaker on, who loves his chaplains. Timothy Coors, who talked about chaplains. Luke, I'm not sure if we did off the top. I don't think Rob Blue did. Tommy uses chaplains, so there's a common theme. We have more tools than that, people. Just wait. We got more things coming. However, it's a good one, dude. Having people who are not you to love on it. We've said it before.
To have those God-shaped conversations in a way that's permission-based, and you're not cramming the a 1611 King James Bible down somebody's throat. That's not what's happening here. But
although when you speak with these and thous, you get more credit in some tradition circles, not in mine. For the record,
I'm going to say that might be a Midwestern thing. I don't know, but
you don't speak King James when you go to lead someone to the Lord, and whithersoever thou goest. That's my favorite King James.
We could go on this riff for a while, but we'll jump off of it.
And it's whithersoever thou goest. I'm like, yeah, that's King James in a baby.
So listen, if you're with us by now, man, you need to go ahead and you need to hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep having these conversations, and excited for continue to bring you all the stories around faithonomics, where people are integrating faith with their business. Every decision is built around being a follower of Jesus, and it really is good business too. So until next time.
Next 10 recorded, and I can tell you, oh my word, these are some fun stories, y'all. You got to stay tuned.
That's it. See you guys.